Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. First off, just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. You guys are joining us on Turkey Day, where we are going to be breaking down Zach LaVine. Could he be possibly heading to the Charlotte Hornets? Was actually Sam Amico from Hoops Wire who suggested it, and he actually reported that the Charlotte Hornets have strong interest in Zach LaVine. Not just interest, not just half interest, but they got some strong interest in the Bulls guard, and that's what we're breaking down on today's show. And I do want to kind of start it off with this. Let's just talk about what a potential trade package could look like in this deal. So this was the one that I saw floated out around a lot of NBA media circles. This was an internet trade idea. Saw this on Bulls Twitter a lot of the time, and it was the Bulls do get Brandon Miller, Terry Rozier, and Mark Williams in exchange for Zach LaVine. And listen, we can break this down player by player here. If the Bulls could get Brandon Miller in a Zach LaVine trade, I say you do it and you run. I would absolutely trade Zach LaVine for Brandon Miller. If you guys don't know, Brandon Miller was the second overall pick in this past NBA draft, and he's kind of like that 3-and-D archetype where he's kind of like that Paul George, like silky smooth at 6'9". He's not the craziest athlete in the world, but he does have some good athleticism to him. Brandon Miller would be an absolute project. Like, he would be that guy where it's like you could really build around him. Like, his floor, I feel like, could be like an R.J. Barrett, but his ceiling could be a Paul George, like where he could seriously be a second-best player on a championship team. Who knows? Maybe even a best player on a championship team. I love what Brandon Miller is about. He's a silky, kind of smooth three, like long, like he can defend a little bit. He's going to need to get that dog in him a little more. But if you would somehow get Brandon Miller, a piece you could build around in a Bulls rebuild, I would do it in a heartbeat. And then another guy the Bulls would get in this trade, Terry Rozier, just your typical kind of combo guard. Remember him in his days back in Boston where he was killing the NBA playoffs. Listen, Terry Rozier would probably be a guy that's not going to be on your roster too much longer if you do make this trade, but I still like getting that piece. Terry Rozier is mainly in here just to match Zach LaVine's contract. Then also Mark Williams. You'd be getting Mark Williams. Mark Williams is kind of like that, Clint Capella, Mitchell Robinson type of center in the NBA where it's like that, super long, super athletic, rim-running center where they go up, catch lobs. He's a lob threat, but then he can also defend a little bit as well and be that true shot blocker. Obviously not the most skilled guy in the world, but still be a really good piece. But I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on this trade in a second, but I first want to get you guys involved here in the comment section. Would you trade Zach LaVine for Brandon Miller? Straight up, maybe there's a couple players involved, but would you trade Zach LaVine for Brandon Miller? Y for yes, N for no, down in the comment section. Let me know your guys' thoughts because I think this trade is a lot more likely than most people think. But let me know your guys' thoughts. Y for yes or N for no down in the comments section. So let's go back to this trade. I think I would do it. I would do this 100% because you guys got to think about it. Like the Bulls were going to move off of Zach LaVine. What would I want? I would either want a ton of draft picks where maybe we haul and we go the Oklahoma City route. Where with Sam Presti where he just continuously kept on bringing in draft picks. And the Thunder now have the team that they have now where you got guys like SGA. You got guys like Jalen Williams. You got guys like Chet Holmgren. We're like really, really solid basketball players because you embrace the tank for a little bit. You could go that route. Or you could go another route where you got a team like the Hornets where you got a young star in LaMelo Ball and maybe they're looking for another guy to bring in like a Zach LaVine. You trade Zach LaVine for Brandon Miller. I would go that route where you get a young player to build around. We've heard other guys tossed in this conversation. Like for the Knicks, for example. Like two guys I like on their roster, Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett. Two really good young and up-and-coming basketball players. I'd probably lean towards Emmanuel Quickley over R.J. in that respect. But if this was the trade that I got on my phone and I was like, oh, shit, the Bulls actually did just trade Zach LaVine, and this was the package we got, I think I would take it 100 times out of 100. If you would get Brandon Miller, Terry Rozier, Mark Williams. I mean, listen, guys, I'm a fan of all three of those players, but like specifically Brandon Miller, if you were to bring him in, kind of get him, kind of develop him, and he would be the true one. Like that's also like a point that I want to make. It's like if you would bring in Brandon Miller, you're moving off DeMar. You're moving off Vooch. Like Brandon Miller would be getting all the shots. The offense would be run through him. It would obviously spike and kind of hurry up his development a little bit. So I would do this trade 110%. You guys just got to let me know what you guys would do. Brandon Miller for Zach LaVine. Are you willing to do it? Tell you what, I'm willing to blow this whole roster up, and I'll tell you guys about that here in a second. But I do want to give a huge shout out to Prize Picks, today's sponsor of today's edition of the Bulls Report. And if you guys head to prizepicks.com/CLNS, if you guys use code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. What is Prize Picks? Well, Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All you got to do is pick 2 or more players, choose more or less on their projected stat types. You guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. I got a little Thanksgiving Day football lineup that I'm rolling with. They actually have a deal going on with Christian McCaffrey right now. Half a rushing and receiving yard. I'm going more on that. And then also Jahmyr Gibbs. He's been having a great year for the Lions. I'm going to go more than 45.5 rushing yards for the man out of Detroit. And then my wild card, I'm going to go more than 15.5 receiving yards for Jawan Jennings in the San Francisco 49ers Seattle Seahawks matchup. That's my pick, or that's my lineup. You guys can either fade my picks or you guys can ride my picks. But if you guys are going to do so, make sure you guys do it at Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. And if you guys use that code CLNS, you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. But let's kick it back to the overall, trade rumors around the Bulls, because we heard the Lakers are connected. We've heard the Knicks are connected. We've heard the Sixers could be interested in a guy like Zach LaVine. Well, I think the Hornets are an absolute wild card for this because, you do have that young star in LaMelo Ball. And, think about it from their side of things. Like, they could go like the Portland Trailblazers route, where you got Dame and CJ McCollum. Maybe they think we could have a better version of that in LaMelo and Zach LaVine, having that dynamic backcourt where you just constantly create open shots. Obviously, defense would be a problem for them. But listen, if there's a report out there that the Hornets kind of want to make a splash move because maybe they're desperate. Maybe the Charlotte Hornets are like, man, like we have not been good for many, many years here. We could go get a guy like Zach LaVine in the building. Maybe they could be, considering doing that. So definitely keep your eyes out on the Hornets in a potential trade for Zach LaVine because I really don't know where LaVine's going to go. I think his market may be a little more limited than a lot of us think, but obviously who really knows from that side of things. But that's a trade idea that's been thrown out there amongst the internet, amongst many Bulls fans on Twitter. If the Hornets were the ones to trade for LaVine, that's probably the package that it would have to take to get number 8 to Charlotte. And I do kind of want to just wrap up today's show just talking about the overall Bulls as a whole, because as I'm recording this on Thanksgiving Eve, you guys are seeing this the morning of Thanksgiving, the Bulls just lost to the Thunder, and just watching what the Thunder have built has just really inspired me to kind of go 10 toes down on this take. And that's the Bulls need to tank. What the Thunder built there in Oklahoma City, they have a young star. They have a young second piece. They have a young third piece. They have a young fourth piece in SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey. And they built a great, great roster. And it just really disappoints me because where the Bulls are right now, they couldn't be farther from an NBA championship. And, if you're power ranking teams in the league where it's who is most likely to win an NBA championship, honestly, I think the Bulls may be dead last on that list. I know you're maybe saying, oh, the Bulls aren't worse than the Pistons or something like that. Well, listen, at least the Pistons have started a rebuild. At least the Pistons have started somewhere where they're saying we admit we are wrong, and we admit that we weren't a good basketball team. We decided to rebuild. We're going to get young assets, many draft picks, and kind of try to turn this thing around. The Bulls have yet to do that. So it's just very disappointing. And, the Bulls played the Thunder on opening night, got their ass kicked. And, last night they got their ass kicked again. So, it's just disappointing watching a young and up-and-coming, fun team in them. And then when I watch the Bulls, it's just they're a boring basketball team. And it's just very frustrating to watch them play the sport, that I love. And I fiend for good basketball. I itch for watching good basketball. And, when I watch the Chicago Bulls, it is just a very disappointing feeling I get when I watch them. So, listen, LaVine, he's going to get traded. I think a lot of these guys are going to get traded. The Bulls are 5-11 on the year. Expect a lot of these players to be dealt, but that's the report. LaVine to the Hornets. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below, and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Because, hey, tell you what, any news, rumors about where LaVine's going, what young players we could be getting, we'll have you guys covered here on the Bulls Report. So make sure you guys stay tuned the entire season. See you guys next time. As always, go Bulls.